Welcome to Technical Problems.
Welcome to the channel that almost wasn't.
The fact that we've made it like 52 episodes.
It's just mind-boggling.
And we have the same problems every week. And the best part
Boy.
is that whenever you go into the settings to fix the problem, the take a thumbnail button is right next to us, which means that y'all are going to get a thumbnail of us doing this.
Just like nostril shot. Oh my goodness. Okay, good morning everybody. I see a couple of people saying hello. And my video is not working. It is chilly today, except for Peggy, who's in Florence, and it's hot, and the mosquitoes will
really?
not die. That's what she says in her chat.
It's cold, and the mosquitoes won't die, so how about that?
Yeah, we both have cold and mosquitoes.
Mm-hmm.
I got toe up when I was out there the other day.
Cool.
Yesterday. Anyway, so you're in charge of chat because I can't get anything to load.
Sounds good to me.
All right. You ready?
I am ready.
Welcome to Books We Never Read!
Except for those we have.
I'm Nicole.
I'm Jason.
And this is episode 52, where we will be discussing Fourth Wing chapters 1 through 13.
That's correct.
This is by Rebecca Yarros.
Yep.
And before we get started, please make sure this is the video you really mean to be watching. We talk about the assigned portion as if you have also already read that portion. So we spoil everything, and there's all kinds of stuff to spoil. Every chapter so far is like, oh, what's going to happen? Oh, that's what happened. So we're really getting in there. We are also available on Goodreads if you would like to take the discussion off of YouTube. And if you would like to just listen along and not watch, we are on YouTube podcasts. So we've got everything playlisted for you. If you're interested in any other books that we've read, they're all playlisted for you also on our channel. We've read quite a few now.
Yep.
So if you're with us live, we'd love for you to participate in the live chat. And if you're with us on the replay, we'd love for you to drop a chat in the comments, any book recommendations, and then of course, like whatever you're thinking and feeling as you're reading the book too. We love reliving the books. So even if it's years later, please let us know what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Is that it?
I think that's everything we're supposed to cover at the beginning.
Okay, great. I have so much to talk about.
So I just finished 25 minutes ago.
Yeah.
I was really far behind on this one. It was big. It was a big reading for
I
us.
was not super excited about this book.
Yeah.
Because it came out of nowhere, and I don't really consider myself a big fantasy reader, even though my favorite series of all time is Harry Potter.
Yeah.
I don't read a lot of fantasy otherwise, but I have come across other fantasy books or series that I've just like randomly picked up, and they've been a great time.
Yeah.
You know, I never regret it once I read it, but I'm never like seeking out the next fantasy, novel. So I really procrastinated. You know, I usually listen to the book a bunch on Sunday after our show, like while I'm doing chores and playing with the dogs outside and, all that stuff. I did not last Sunday. I didn't read at all. I didn't start reading until like during the week. And then it started picking up. Yeah. And then I couldn't put it down. And by the time I finished chapter 13, I like audibly like, God! Because I wanted to keep
She
going.
asked me, can I cheat on the book club and keep going? That's what she said.
So
yeah. I also started real late. I don't think I started until Wednesday. And even though I chose this book, I got a slow start. That's probably not true. I probably started Monday or Tuesday. But like I didn't really enjoy the first 2 or 3 chapters or whatever that I read. And it's because I'm really comparing this book to Rosewater. But just that being the last book that we read. And I really like Tade Thompson's writing style. And I felt like at the beginning, the writing style of this book was a little flat, and I felt like it wasn't that exciting. And then we finally get through all like the nonsense of like orientation week, and stuff started to pick up, and I'm good with it now, right? Like it's definitely more interesting. I still have like some criticisms, but like that's what y'all pay me for, so.
Paying for it, nobody paying. But that is a challenge when you read serially, when you read chronically or whatever. It's you're always comparing something to something else. Sure. And I was kind of thinking about this a little bit, and we read like Children of Time, and that was beautiful and interesting and entertaining and challenging a little bit. You really
Yeah.
had to kind of think about what was going on and actively mindfully participate in the reading.
Yeah.
That's like watching, like a Planet Earth documentary, right? Like
Mhm.
it's sophisticated and educational.
Yeah. This is just a good time.
This is the WB.
Right.
Like this is Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
you're just buckled in for the ride and
Mhm.
enjoying whatever nonsense is happening.
Yeah.
Without thinking too hard about it.
Yeah. So I do have another comparison though, and it's not about like style, but it's about content. And whenever I was told about this book, I was told it's like Harry Potter and
Hunger Games.
Hunger Games and all that, but with dragons. And here we are at the end where they're like having this conversation of our reading, where they're talking about picking dragons or dragons picking them or whatever, and it's really just a more complicated version of the Harry Potter wand situation, except like the wand can eat you,
Yeah.
and I enjoy that. there's some stakes here to be had.
Yeah.
So but yeah. Anyway, let's not start at the end. We can start at the beginning.
Sure.
suppose.
Sure.
I do. Let's jump into the chat for a second because there were some funny
Oh
comments.
yeah. Please catch us up.
I'm being told that this is definitely spicier so far than Well Met was. And I'm also being told that this is spice level 8, which is spicy.
Like what we've already read with Spice Level 8, or like what's to come?
It says spice level 8.
Has she read ahead?
Oh, I don't know. Shelby gave it the rating. Peggy called it spicy. I don't disagree, and we can talk about like the sexual, not undertones, overtones in this one. And yeah, okay, but that does add to some of the fun, right? So,
Yeah, it is. Okay, so
Are we gonna talk about it now?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
So, when you introduced this book to me and you were like, there's a love triangle, I immediately don't want to read it if there's a love triangle.
Mm-hmm.
It's annoying to me, right? So, like, I don't think of Harry Potter as having, like, a romantic element to it. It essentially does. Hermione and Ron have their thing, whatever.
But it's very sterile.
But it has nothing to do with the story, really.
Yeah.
And I love that. I want a good story, and I don't particularly care about the romance. In the Hunger Games, I was like between the girl and the two guys. Like, it was annoying.
Yeah.
But I am entertained on this one. And maybe it's just because I'm older and, cheap thrills. I don't know. But it's fun.
Yeah.
I like it.
Part of what bothers me about Harry Potter is that, like, and like in the movies, I guess it might be a little different. I don't know. But it is so sterile, right? And like, this is college, right? Like,
Nice.
high school, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. The point being is that
kids. This is
they are
college,
really
though.
little kids when they start. That's fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is college, but in Wheel of Time, there's like a love square or like a pentagon or something. I can't really remember, but it's still rather like downplayed.
Mm-hmm.
And so whereas you don't necessarily want it to be the part of the story, I do.
Yeah.
And because I buy into it, especially in this book, I buy into the whole thing about, well, we could all die tomorrow, so like we're kind of hedonists. Like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And you don't end up in the writer's quadrant because you're like a responsible person,
Right.
who isn't out here just like looking for your thrills,
Right.
So they're adrenaline junkies. Like, that's how you
Yeah.
get to this point.
And it is interesting. So, I think, Dane is who we're supposed to see as like, they're supposed to end up together, right? Like, they've just known each other forever.
Yeah.
Like, no, they're kind of more siblings.
Yeah.
To me, it seems. And there's a little bit of tension there. And she's like, maybe we're finally on the same page. But, like, you're not, because he's a senior member and can't be messing around with you and, all that stuff. Also, she's getting irritated with him. It's just overbearing, his protectiveness. And he's wanting to protect her for his selfish reasons. Not really caring about just the things that she needs to take care of and just being supportive of that. And so he's holding her back, essentially. And that's going to get in the way of that romance.
So, I was told there's a love triangle. We haven't necessarily seen that yet. Obviously, she has this thing for Dane. Like a weird love-hate situation with Xaden, who is obviously my favorite. Like, in my mind, he is he is pitched to us in the same way that the big guy in Well Met was pitched to us at the beginning. the big guy, the one she didn't pick.
Oh yeah,
That
yeah.
guy, whoever that guy is. But like I was like the big guy, and he's like dark and brooding, and I'm here for that.
Yeah.
But I don't know that that's the love triangle. What if it's Jack Barlow?
Oh man.
I'm just saying, because that would come out of nowhere. That's the kind of twist I like.
I wanted to read chapter 14 to see if little Jack Barlow got turned into a crispy critter. That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah.
Poor little indecisive boy got knocked out.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that really.
And like whoever was talking smack.
Oh, Luca, get out! I was glad she's gone.
I was tired
Get
of reading
her
it.
out of
Anyway,
here.
Yeah, but yeah. And the point, but like yes, somebody makes mention that it's all kind of smell and over and intention and all that stuff at this point, and I feel like that's making like a good build up to. There is tension there, and you can feel that tension, and I really don't know if Zayden's gonna like chop her head off or, you know,
Yeah.
something else. I don't know. But,
From what we hear him say and the way that he handles things, he's split between two worlds. He's a marked person.
Yeah.
And so they're forced to integrate differently into society, and that really sucks for them. It's very unfair.
Yeah.
I've got some notes about that as well. But he acknowledges that, like, I am marked by what my parents did, but I am my own person, and I want to do my own things. And he recognizes that in Violet as well. And so, I think he has a lot to prove, and I think he wants to be there, and I think he wants to, like, make a name for the marked ones, that they can also be good members of this society.
Yeah, sure.
And I don't remember what your question was. Oh, like, is he going to kill her or is he not?
Yeah, I definitely get the feeling that he's not really
right.
going to.
But being
he
torn
wants her to
between
think
two
it.
worlds,
Yeah, sure.
he has to kind of keep up that image in order to keep the other marked ones with him.
Yeah.
And then he can kind of show through example, like, well, we don't have to do that.
Yeah.
We can do that, but we don't have to.
The whole like marking thing and then drafting those people to be in your army, like, well, number one, seems like a liability. Number two, I don't know if anybody watches anime. I'm not really like an anime watcher, but I will watch anything that is a good story. And there's this show called Attack on Titan, and it is phenomenal.
It's creepy.
It is creepy, but it is so good. And it has, you might have to watch a season or two to get to this point, but it has kind of a similar concept of these second-class citizens that are sort of being drafted, and like it doesn't turn out well, and
Right.
part of us is almost led to believe like what if he is starting this like little rebellion thing. I don't think that's going to happen, but he's got his club where he's Zayden is pitched as this like cold and heartless person, and he's not. Shelby, or I'm sorry, I can't find it now, but somebody mentions that whereas her friend from childhood, what's his name?
Dane?
Dane. Dane is very protective of her, but is not honest with her about her abilities. Zayden is, and that is caring. To tell somebody you're going to die if you don't do this, to expose their weaknesses. He's obviously helping all the other traders' children that are there, and he is not uncaring. He just cares in a very harsh way, and he doesn't care in the way that makes you feel good.
Right.
In the way that you might want,
He cares in the way that makes you grow. It's that tough love type thing. As soon as this comment of, the traitor parents and the marked children came up, and that was pretty early in the story.
Yeah.
It immediately made me think of other real life scenarios where this has happened. Like, there are countries that have had civil wars, and then the civil wars have ended, and they're all just supposed to go on like nothing ever happened. So their neighbors were security guards or prison guards or administrators of punishment. And then it's over now. Yeah. And then you just have to move on. Yeah. And in some cultures, they're able to do that. You don't talk about it. We don't address it. It is over. It's the past. But then there's some cultures that there's still a couple of people left over every once in a while from Nazi stuff that we're like, whoa, found you.
Yeah.
We're putting you in prison even though you're 102.
Well, it's like the whole concept of like, we're going to make you watch us kill your parents. Then we're going to like mark you for life. And then we're going to give you basically nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
And I was just like, did did Navarre take like some lessons from like the United States? Like, what's up here? Like,
Yeah.
what's happening?
Right.
Like, we done this. We know it don't work. Of course,
Right.
they don't know that. But
Well, and you can't, you know, mark a people as different,
mhm.
limit their ability to assemble, to grow, to do,
Right.
and then expect them to comply
Well,
and be, you know, happy,
right.
productive members of society.
Yeah.
If
You
you
either have to.
treat
Yeah.
people like criminals, they are criminals.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You
What?
you either separate the people or you assimilate them, and they have chosen this weird middle road here.
And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not gonna.
No,
It's
it's
just
not.
it doesn't
Yeah.
work. It's you're treating people poorly, and that's just going to
Yeah.
continue a cycle of wanting to rebel.
Yeah. I'm really trying to figure out like where this story is going, and I think what I like about this is, like in the first Harry Potter, they're trying to find like the Sorcerer's Stone, right? Like there is this little mystery that they're doing like in every book, their little adventure, and obviously the adventure of this book is trying to get through their first year of Dragon College or whatever. But we're also getting the setup for like the
Mm-hmm.
big thing, which is sometimes lacking in the first books, I
Mm-hmm.
think, of other fantasy series. And I don't know if the Rebel families is going to be part of it, but it certainly could be. And somehow I think that's all going to tie in with like the wards going down. And then they've mentioned this Venom thing like 3 or 4 times,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's going somewhere. Um, so I don't know.
Yeah, and they've already indicated that sometimes third years get called into war,
Mm-hmm.
but they have a
Mm-hmm.
feeling that it's going to dip down into the lower
Yeah,
years,
yeah, I agree.
like very soon. So I
Yeah,
have a feeling we will see war
yeah,
in this book.
yeah, for sure. Cool.
Yeah. Um. Okay, so speaking of like the punishment of the children and stuff, we had that little excerpt. We have excerpts at the
Mm-hmm.
beginning of each chapter, and one was from Violet's mother who was saying like, "Hey, I oppose the children watching their parents
Yeah, yeah.
be executed." The fact that she forces Violet into the Riders Squadron or whatever it's called, the
Mm-hmm.
Riders, whatever. Um, to me, I think that that's her mom.
Hmm. Like
It,
paying for her sins. Yeah.
yes, it's oh well. These children are being forced to be riders, or they weren't originally supposed to be riders. They were supposed to be just at the school, and
Okay.
then they ended up in the
Yeah.
riders squad. Yeah, but it's they were forced in, and so it's only right that my own children would also be
Yeah. That makes
forced
sense.
in.
Yeah.
I
It's not really
feel
said, but that makes
I
sense.
feel
Yeah.
like after reading that
Yeah.
that piece, I was like, this is her mom's way of relieving herself of some guilt,
Right.
making it feel like she didn't advocate for something to be done to someone else's child that she
Right.
would not have done to her own.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That adds some depth. I wish that had been like explicitly stated somehow.
Well, we're only in the first third
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
book.
Yeah. And hopefully it would be. That adds some depth to her mom, who was otherwise just a jerk. So.
Yeah.
Like when I was reading her, I was like, how did the mom and the dad end up together?
How did
Like, how
they?
does that happen?
Yeah, I wonder.
Yeah.
What's their
Peggy had actually just mentioned the same thing. So, yeah. And so and then Shelby asked, why would her mom let her train as a scribe and then flip the script? She flipped the script. I think the dad is what made her be the scribe. And then once the father dies, then the mom's like, all right, you're done. You're going to dragon school or whatever. So,
Yeah.
I want to, just because we're talking about like the scribes and the dragon thing or whatever. This is probably what turned me off the most at the beginning of the book was the scene of her crossing the parapet, which I wanted. I don't like heights. I'm not here for it. That was a perfect scene to make me like incredibly uncomfortable and have like kids falling off left and right. Jack Barlow's out here shoving people over, and I get this like info dump about the planet while she's like halfway through, and it really took me out of that scene. And it was a clever way. It's a clever way of giving me that information. In the same way that I think like doing like Battle Brief was another clever way of giving me information about the world that wasn't just like here it is. There was some kind of play there, but her she does it again right at the maybe when she's like climbing the obstacle course.
Yeah.
But she like barely does it,
It's just
and it does not take you out of the action. That first one takes you all the way out.
Because it's a lot.
It's a lot, and I wouldn't. I thought that was a poor choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. If that's the way you want to do it, it's clever. I'm here for it. It was too much. So, yeah. But that's all. That's all I had to say. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Okay, when she was doing the gauntlet, all I saw, so like, the author's like doing a great job describing the gauntlet and all the pieces and all the like summits or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
All I could see, y'all ever watch that show Wipeout?
Yeah.
With like the big inflatable
Yeah.
obstacle
Yeah, I've seen that
course
too.
and like people jumping from like ball to ball and like getting hit with the log.
Yeah.
That's all I saw.
I'll be honest, I blacked out for most of that. That was another part where it's like, this is too much. It was like too much description of like moving parts that I can't like really imagine.
Yeah.
And so I just like,
I just saw the Wipeout
Yeah.
course and I was like, here we go.
it either wasn't descriptive enough or it was like too descriptive, but
Uh-huh.
somewhere there was like sensory overload with that scene.
Yeah.
And I would just find like the dialogue at some point because
Yeah.
I didn't know what was happening.
You
And I
counted
didn't
as
really care.
minutia and you read on to the important parts. Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna make a great scene in the movie when they make the movie.
You think they'll make a movie?
Of course they'll make a movie.
Oh.
Everybody gets a movie.
Everybody gets a movie?
Everybody. You
We
get a
get a
movie.
movie?
You get a movie. We get a movie.
Anyway. All right. Let's see. What else I got? Oh, Violet should have killed Jack at the end of the parapet.
Yeah, can we? They were like, well, you can kill him. And this, to be fair, Violet is not us, and Violet has not read Three Body Problem. But if she had, she would know that now that she knows that there's a threat out there, you kill him right now, right? And
I don't know why she didn't.
I think everyone in this book club, if they have been with us since the beginning and have read that book, would have gone ahead and cut him on out because he's a liability. The whole concept that these people can like kill each other and it's a way of weeding out the weak. Like I'm like, I guess it seems kind of dumb to me, but like, okay, I see where you're going here. And then like, well, you can't do it in formation. Okay, and like, what if they do? Well, nothing, right? And like,
Mhm.
what if you use your magic on the mat? Like, you can't do that. What if you do? Nothing. And whenever you get out of college and you're like in a battle, you can't kill each other. That's exactly where I would kill you. Is in a battle where I can be like, I don't know, man, he got hit by an arrow and fell off. You know, the whole idea that you're just supposed to like turn that off and trust each other is nonsense.
Mm-hmm. And not possible.
Yeah. Or like you can't kill people while they're asleep. Okay, like that's a good rule. I'm gonna tap you and then stab you through the neck. Right? He was awake. I woke him up. And then I killed him. That's not fair. They need some new rules here. For sure.
I think we're seeing just a bad system overall.
Yeah. Well, and I think we're also supposed to be seeing that, right? Like there's and this whole concept of this feather tail and compassion is a strength. I want to come back around to that point. As compassion is a strength, and that there's different types of strength. Like maybe that's where this book is going, right? It is we have this weird medieval system that's cutthroat, and it is not. It's not it makes people hard, but not strong, and there's a difference. Yeah,
absolutely. And I do think that that's going to be a big point of this story, right? And okay, so do y'all think that she's going to bond with the golden dragon?
Yep, I do. Wasn't there mention that there was a black dragon this go round too?
I thought that was the feather.
The feather tail is
gold,
gold,
and that's the gold one.
Yeah,
yeah. Y'all help us out in the chat.
I think they had said that there was a black dragon because the only other black dragon is General Meldrum's dragon.
Okay, I merged those and thought that was the golden one.
But whenever they do the lineup, there's no mention of the black dragon, and I think she's gonna get the golden one, right? Like it
isn't the black dragon a feather tail, and they were just saying the only other feather tail doesn't show up or hadn't shown up in 100 years, and then he shows up. I think we just assumed it would be black because his is black.
No,
but she was kind of, as she was like meeting the dragons and coming across them, it makes it sound like their color can be independent of their breed.
Yes, their color and their tail are independent. It's two different things you got to mix together.
Okay, so I was kind of thinking that the feather tail that they were.
No.
The other one of the generals
They never say that there is a feather tail. What they say is nobody's seen a feather tail for a long time. They abhor violence.
Okay.
And so when there is a feather tail, it's a big deal. What I think what they said was that there is a black dragon. Meldrum has a black dragon.
Gotcha.
Everybody wants a black dragon because they're rare or whatever. But we don't get any mention of that. And so part of me still thinks like, obviously she's going to get the golden dragon. Like that's where we're at.
I think
that's
it's perfect. As little as she's little, so she doesn't have to like stab it to climb on it. She can just boop.
It abhors violence. She abhors violence. I mean, like it's all there.
Yeah.
I want her to get a black dragon. Like
just.
I want her to get. I want her to get some tank of a. I want that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I want it to represent like what she really is or what she could really become, you know, or something. I don't think that's going to happen. And somebody else is, if there's really a black dragon, somebody else will get that. And it's probably Jack, right? Or whatever. If he survives, he will survive.
Crispy critter.
No, he's going to make it.
You don't think he'll?
No.
Shucks.
So, keep talking. I'm going to catch up on these.
Okay. So, the other thing I was kind of wondering, you know, since there's this, you know, yellowish dragon that doesn't seem to like do much, kind of a nut and button thing, you know, surely, so since the other dragons haven't culled that one out yet, it must be able to produce a great deal of magic with its rider.
Mm-hmm.
You know, somewhere in there has to be that balance of power.
Sure.
And how stupid is Jack? Okay, this is not the humans' world. This is the dragons' world.
Yeah.
The dragons are choosing the humans that are too weak and kicking them out. Why would a human think, oh, it's my job to cull this dragon because it's weak? They'd have done it themselves.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Maybe. Yeah.
Like, stupid. It's so dumb.
Yeah. I'm really interested in like dragon society. What does that look like? They all live in this veil thing.
What kind of mall do they go
There's
to?
100 of them this year, which means there must be lots of dragons running
I
around.
know, and they're like, there's only 100.
Right? But I mean, like,
a lot.
if there's only a certain percentage that is volunteering to like go to the army or whatever, I don't know. Like, what are we really talking about? What is that like? Why are they even afraid of griffins? Like, what has a griffin got on a dragon? Like, nothing. And so my theory, I was telling somebody this the other day, is that they basically raise griffins like chickens. And they've got these like griffin hen houses. They're just chock full of griffin chicks. And it's like a swarm situation. I'm here for a griffin swarm. Like, well, never mind. I don't know. Like the Zerg in StarCraft, if anybody understands the reference. It's just like a swarm of griffins. And the dragons have to fight them. Man, that'd be cool.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Anything in the chat you wanted to mention?
No, they were saying that maybe there wasn't a black dragon this year.
Oh, okay.
But there also wasn't a Feathertail. I don't really remember. So. Peggy wants her to bond with Zayden's dragon. That's complicated. And fun.
But
Sounds
he's
like
already bonded. Can
Yeah,
they
but
bond
like
with two?
no, but like maybe I don't know. But what if? But then they're like in each other's heads, and this dragon's head, like whoa, yeah. But I agree. I think the golden feather tail thing is going to be obviously uber powerful in some way. Because like obviously, right? Like, duh.
What kind of magic do you think she'll wield?
I don't know. Like from what we've been given like really cool powers and like dumb powers that they try to convince us are cool.
Yeah.
So like the shadow power is dope.
That is crazy.
Here for that. That's awesome.
And apparently Violet can sense that. You know, she kind of had like a prickle every time, and when she turned around, he's looking at her. It's because he's using his shadow power, and she can feel it.
Yeah. Well, and then they have like the mender guy. That's awesome. Super handy. They have the people who can make stuff smaller. Like that's actually really handy. And then they've got this guy who can project the things he sees in his mind.
Yeah, that's
which
cool.
is the worst one.
I'm so ADHD. Y'all be seeing all kinds of stuff. Be like, reel it in, Nicole, reel it in.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, I mean, the guy's like having a conversation and we see the red dragon, but like how do we not see like other stuff, you know, like whatever pops into his head. But while it is like an okay power, it is the worst one.
But not if you're a teacher, you know.
Yeah, but that's how you become a teacher, is because you've got this lame power.
Yeah.
Like he is an overhead projector. And they could have figured it out, or they could have just drawn a picture like anyone else. But he just is an overhead projector. Now here's how you use it. If you can make other people see things that you see in your mind, why isn't he on the front lines as like a spy or something, making images of like people's generals, telling them to turn around? Like there are practical uses for that.
he has like a photographic memory.
Yeah, there are practical uses for it, and they decided to turn him into Mr. Overhead Projector.
He could be a spy.
He could be.
Maybe he is a spy, and he just didn't talk about it because he's a spy. Secret.
Maybe.
Duh.
But yeah, so what power does she get? I don't know. What if it's like all powers? You know what I mean? Like fantasy books love to do that, where they have like the different schools and like the different things, and then the golden one is all of them. You know, or whatever.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, so what does her mom have?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't remember her mom's power. Someone in the chat will. And
Yeah,
her
it does
brother,
mention.
what was he? What was his
I don't
power?
know.
Her sister, what's her power?
She might have been one of the turn things small people.
Is that how she did the little scales?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. But I want to come back to the compassion thing
Yes,
about the
come back to
dragon.
it.
Because I think that's where she and Zayden meet, right? I just want to like stress that point is that compassion as a strength. I do think Zayden is compassionate in like a weird way, and somehow she's gonna. There's not gonna be this. They're gonna meet in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
She's gonna become more like him, and he will become more like her, and they'll end up meeting in between, and maybe their dragons will as well, or something. I don't know. That was all.
I think. Okay, so I don't know. This doesn't really matter, but it was just something that was like rattling around in my head. You know how the dragons like got all up in her little dragon scale vest and like sniffing and all that, and she explained that her sister
Yeah.
created that to protect her. I think that her explaining that to the dragons has solidified her to bond with the golden, because I think the dragons are also looking out for the golden. Obviously, because they haven't killed it off. They see that gift of protection from Myra to Violet, and they're saying this is something that Violet will pass on to they'll protect each other.
Yeah. Well, and we're seeing that right here at the end of our
Right.
reading.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I thought that was kind of what all that was.
Well, and that's a good point. And from it appears that Sagael or whatever Zayden's dragon's name is being protective of the golden dragon because it's showing its teeth or whatever. Probably at the three boys that are trying to kill it or whatever.
Hope so.
Morons.
Yeah. So stupid.
Get in, get out. Do you think?
So dumb.
They're on a side quest that ain't gonna take them anywhere. That's what's happening.
Yeah. So I kind of hate that Dane's taking the path that he's taking. Just kind of becoming a nuisance for Violet because he's so protective.
Well, he represents her past life, right? Like she is the thing. He is the thing that she must overcome. I've been thinking about this book in terms of Thus Spake Zarathustra by Nietzsche this week for no good reason. I listened to this strong man talk about Thus Spake Zarathustra and the analogy of the dragon, and I'll explain that in a second, and how it relates to weightlifting. And it was an interesting analysis. But there's this story in Thus Spake Zarathustra about how all men are camels, or like the first stage of man is a camel. He's a beast of burden. He does what he is told to do and what he has to do. And it's a necessary stage. It's not a stage to look down upon. Everyone must go through this. And then men become lions. And the lion says no. And the lion tries to make its own way. And it chooses. It tries to clear out space. It is a destroyer. But it fights against the dragon. And the dragon is called Thou Shalt. And it is all the rules, and it is all the things you are told you must be and that you should do. And every scale of the dragon is a thou shalt, and it's a different moral code that we've been given. And then ultimately, the final stage is to become the child, and the child creates new morals, and is supposed to be. It doesn't represent what a person becomes. It's supposed to be like a society. The society becomes the child and makes a new thing. But when it makes a new thing, it doesn't defeat the dragon. It only adds a new scale to the dragon's. To the dragon. It makes new thou shalts for the camel to carry. Anyway, the point being is that Dane is a camel, right? Dane, in this moral evolution, Dane represents the beast of burden. He follows the codex. He's obsessed with the codex. He represents everything that Violet has been when she was trained as a scribe to be this certain thing. And Violet cannot go against literally cannot go against the dragon as a camel. She must become a lion. And she must overcome those thou shalts, and that is what she is doing.
Very cool. Thesis.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
That's our number 2.
Sorry, that was a lot, but
no, that's cool.
It's a good book if you're interested. It's fine. Sorry.
No,
See you next week.
I really like that, but that was all my notes.
Okay. So I want to talk about a joke I've been making because I don't think that Dylan and Bryce and Zayden should all be names that all exist in the same world. And so I've been joking about how watch us run into a Tanner. And then Violet makes the same joke, and I really appreciated that. The guy's name is like Tynan or something, but she's like, what's his name, Tanner? I was like, ah!
I mean, everyone's got to be named something.
Everybody's got to be named something, but it was just, I don't know. those are like Zoomer names that like just there's a lot of people and like a generation younger than us that are named things like Tanner and Bryce and stuff like that. And then there's Zayden, which I bet there's a bunch of Zaydens now.
Yeah.
And then she made the same joke I made, and I loved it. So
That's when you started liking the book.
yeah,
You're like,
pretty
okay,
much.
I'm on board.
Pretty much, the humor here is on point. let me check the chat again.
Yeah.
People are saying that maybe either the mom or they. I think Brennan wasn't a healer. I think he was being healed by a dude who burned himself out.
Yeah.
He might have been a healer though.
Yeah.
And they're saying that one of them had precognition, maybe, kind of like that. I think that was the other general, but it could be they could have had that too.
Yeah.
I think it's a little X-Man that Violet's mom can change the weather. There we go. Yeah, she has weather powers.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's what it was. She
That's
makes
cool.
storms. Yeah,
Neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, go. Yeah. Brennan was a healer, maybe. Yeah, so then Shelby asked, do the tail fire sections or any of that stuff mean anything? And like, no, it doesn't. I really don't think it. Like, so if you are first squad flame section,
Gotcha. No, it's just like little subcategories.
yeah, it's like everything's in 3s and 4s or whatever, and so they picked like flame, wing, tail. I think there's claw. I'm not sure about that, but they're just like different dragon parts, right? And they're working their way down. Another book that does this is number one, everything fantasy, right? We talked a little bit about, I want to call it Deception Point. That's not right, but the one that starts with a D, where everybody has like a Divergent. So like Divergent kind of does this, but more specifically, Ender's Game does, where they divide the people up into little named groups or whatever. Everybody loves that. There is something about
we
us.
want to be part of something.
Yeah, but like it's not enough to be part of War College. You've got to be part of like this group, which is this group, and this group, and then.
Well, yeah,
like,
War College is too big. What house would you be in, or what? What's not a house? Would you be a healer or a writer? Or
I'd
a
probably be a scribe. Like, let's be honest. So.
I want to be a healer.
It's kind of confusing to me. Like, what is the scribe's job? So maybe we are seeing the best of the best, right? Join the wing. Obviously, we're seeing the reckless of the reckless, but everybody seems to be able to read, all of them, and that's weird. Like, I don't either. This medieval country is incredibly well educated and everybody can read, which is not normal for like fantasy, right? People are just medieval people, and most of them could not read.
Is that a thing?
Yes, but that's how our world was. Most people couldn't read until like the 1900s.
Well, right, no, but this isn't our world. This is
No,
just a...
but so either they have an incredibly good public education system and everybody can read, at which point I'm saying, why even have scribes? If everybody can read and write, like, what's the point?
I mean, they're just like the scholars, right?
No, they're also just like the people who read and write.
Oh.
They are scholars, but like, can't you, like, wouldn't the best like dragon scholar probably be somebody who can actually like hop on a dragon and do tests and like?
Gosh, I didn't realize.
Why split that off is my question.
Yeah.
Either I want everybody to not be able to read, and maybe all the people in the infantry can't read. Like, maybe that's where all the non-readers go. I don't know. But so far, we haven't seen anybody who's like, I'm going to fail history because I can't read. And we should probably expect that from this kind of world. Anyway, the scribes seem kind of redundant, but that's where I'm going. They sleep an hour later. They have good breakfast. They like books. I like books.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. What would you be?
A healer, I think.
Probably so. Probably so.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. I don't know.
Ah, that's all I got. Yeah, what would y'all be?
Yeah, what would the people be? So.
Brennan was a mender. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Thank you. Sorry, the chat is so tiny on the phone. Is it how they fly in formation? Now, that's a good question. You know, like if it comes down to it and the whole school gets, or the whole riders get called into war, does their squad name tell them if we all have to fly as one, this is where you line up?
Yeah, so like maybe.
But it might just be on theme.
Yes. Yeah. There's also, I mean, that's possible, right? So like you are the vanguard if you're Flame Wing or something. That's true. There's no reason to think that what squads they're in now will in any way correspond to what they end up when they're in the real military. The military likely uses a similar structure. And I think we are told that either a section or a squad, maybe not a whole wing, shows up at that village that gets destroyed. Which they knew about ahead of time.
Right. Yeah. So there's a whole part of the story here we haven't talked about. And I saw someone's chat fly across the screen saying they want to know more about the wards.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's up with that? We have not received an adequate
Yeah.
explanation of
So
what this is. And the veil, what is that?
the veil is where the dragons live. It's like the heart. So imagine Navarre as like a circle.
Okay.
The veil is at the middle. That's where the dragons live.
Oh.
Apparently, the dragons cannot have powers unless they bond with a human. It's like the combination that makes the powers. Somehow, that all that stuff is also powering these wards, which makes it so there's
Are
no
wards
magic.
people?
No.
Oh.
They're something else. Maybe
Okay.
like a structure. I don't know.
Okay.
But it makes it so that within the wards, you cannot do magic other than dragon magic. So no griffin magic, no wyvern magic, which we just found out is a thing. I want to know. No venom magic, whatever that nonsense is. So, but I mean, like, and it explains, because if I, at the beginning, I was like, why do these dragons need people at all? Just like kill them. Like,
Yeah.
people are a liability, you know? And, but it's because they need the magic. And then they're helping to protect the people because it's really helping protect the veil. And that's all there is to it. We still don't really understand what this 400-year war is about. I don't know. There's a lot to be learned.
Yeah.
And then when we were learning it, they were like, nah, that's classified. And I was like, oh. When they had classified stuff, I was like, okay, now we're talking. I like that. That sounds cool.
It frustrated me when they were in the war brief or whatever, and they're like, okay, ask questions. And then someone asks a question. That's above your pay grade. Well, then don't ask me to ask a question.
Well,
You could be nice about it.
That's actually a really interesting. I really enjoyed that part because it's kind of how I was trained at the college I went to. It was very small. We didn't have battle school or whatever, right? Unfortunately. But you would go in and you'd read stuff, and like the whole deal was just like, okay, now ask questions, right? And it was about training you on how to ask questions and how to learn, because so much of my other classes outside of that college were
it's just like
here's your
feeding
stuff,
you information, but more Socratic.
Yeah, it was the critical thinking aspect, I think, is very important, and it makes a lot of sense.
But then don't ask people to ask questions and then yell at them for asking questions.
I don't think they yelled at them.
Okay, well, I
But
will say
if somebody-
sometimes I'm split between audio and just reading the book.
Yeah.
Sometimes she gets a little overexcited in the
Gotcha.
audio book and things are a little more aggressive sounding. So I was listening to that part and I was mad.
If I ask a question and you tell me that the answer is classified, I know I've asked the right question.
Yeah.
That's the best
you're
answer.
In the right path.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And I'm looking forward to hearing more about that because, like, realistically, that was like 2 months ago that happened, and then we haven't heard anything else because we're trying to get to threshing and all that stuff, which we're in now. And so after that, you're kind of a rider, right? Like that's when you might get called up, and so I'm really excited to kind of see what happens there.
Yeah. I'm ready.
Yeah, and so they are historians. That's true, right? So Peggy says that the scribes are historians. I'm on
Right,
board.
because all the writers are going to die.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess, yeah. And like, so maybe it's not. My point being is that it's a whole lot of people that could just choose to go do history, right? Like, and especially because you get to pick which quadrant you go to. Like, maybe that's why people don't pick scribe is because they can't read, right? Like, I don't know, but it's a cushy job, especially when everybody else can basically do what you do, and that's my point, right? Like it's almost the most superfluous one, and not that history is not important, and not that statistics are not important.
So there's another section too. I just can't remember what it. Oh, mending, I guess.
Yeah, mending.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. What happens to people who fail the other tests?
They just go home.
Yeah, they don't
I'm
have
gonna
to
show
die.
up, go to scribe school, be like, I can't read, and I'm go home.
Or they
See?
just stay till they learn how to do it.
I just won't learn.
You just live there.
Yeah,
You
I'm just
work in the cafeteria.
Repeat. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, yeah. Like, do you have to go to this school? Does everyone have to go to the school, or is there a whole other like world out there? Of
There's a
people
whole other
that
world. They're
don't?
conscripted, so like a certain percentage of people are
Gotcha.
supposed to be sent.
So it might not really be that many scribes.
Yeah, but you get to pick. No, I think you're told. Actually, so I am wrong about that, and somebody might have corrected me. You are told if you're going to be a mender or a scribe or infantry. You get to pick if you want to be in the dragon one. The dragon was the only one that you're allowed to choose. All the other ones you're told. So they figured out who can't read, and they
Gotcha.
aren't sticking
Okay,
over there.
that makes sense. I vaguely remember that now. There are a lot of little details in this book that I'm not bothering to keep straight. So thanks, guys, for keeping us on track with what's real.
Yeah. So
I mean, are y'all liking it so far?
Yeah, definitely, because the second one's coming out soon.
Yeah.
Maybe we do that. You know, if we're enjoying it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Shelby points out maybe the failures for the menders and the scribes are sent to the infantry, and that's highly likely.
That sounds about
American. It's the only like quadrant, I guess, that we haven't met anyone from, and I have a feeling we probably like just never will.
Yeah.
Because those guys get burninated.
Voluntold.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, most governments are set up in a way where the less able, financially or otherwise.
The dragons are just the chair force, right? They just hang out, do their thing. Sounds like a sweet gig. I would not, under any circumstances, go to be a dragon person.
Nope.
At one point, Violet makes this comment about how she's beating the odds, and then she says like 15% of people die. I'm like, 15% is good. If you were like, you have an 85% chance of living today, I would take that bet, right? Like, that's not beating the odds.
Right, no, it's not.
That's good.
But she's beating the odds considering that she is absolutely a hollow bones bird.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, like, she just shouldn't have made it this far.
Yeah.
But she is smart. She is tough, you know.
Yeah.
It's just a physical weakness.
Yeah.
And she tries to overcome it in every other way. And so that's not a true weakness.
Yeah.
You know, it's only a weakness if you succumb to the things that hold you back.
I think what we're ultimately going to see, you know, talking about these wards that the chat is discussing, because that definitely seems to be like where we're going, right? Like something's going to happen. There will be this invasion because the wards are failing, and it goes back to my point about like why make scribes when you could just have dragon riders do it, and that's what Violet is. She is a scribe trained dragon rider, right? She is taking this concept of just like, we're going to separate off these things, you don't have to worry about it, and bringing it all together.
Which is important.
Yes.
You know, like we have to have a little bit of everything and everything.
Right.
Nothing is clearly separated. That never works out.
Yeah. Yeah. And so she's going to do some science, right? She's going to figure this stuff out.
She's going to bring balance to the force.
Yeah. And maybe that's why the Feathertail came out, right? Because it is, you know, it's this peace-loving thing. Maybe it's trying to figure out.
You know what?
It's interested in the ward specifically.
It's been 100 years since someone reasonable's come through this joint. Here we go.
What if the Golden Dragon is like a null zone? What if it, like within a certain range of it, all powers are dead? Like you can't have powers.
That'd be interesting. But then how would Xaden know? I mean, I assume Xaden knew what was going on there because he had his little shadow fingers listening.
Nah, Xaden knew what was going on because he's stalking Violet. That's what's going on there.
Yikes. Yikes-a-rooney.
Shelby says she's reading Violet in Peggy's voice.
She is sassy like Peggy is.
Yeah. And then Shelby mentions that Divergent kind of does that thing as well, where it talks about you have these different houses, basically, and you really need this mix.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've only ever seen the movies, but they were enjoyable.
I've never seen either, yeah.
They were good.
Harry Potter also addresses that issue.
Oh, does it?
But there's these houses, but they're not intended to be separate things.
Right.
You know, you should all be in together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and Harry Potter emphasizes the differences between the houses less. Like, you get there because of your temperament or whatever. Mm-hmm. But there are Hufflepuffs who are interested in botany, and there's Slytherins who are interested in botany, and you know, there's all that. So anyway, I think I'm all talked out for this one. Excited to see where it goes.
I am ready to dive back into my book.
We'll take bets on when Jack Barlow dies. You can leave a comment on which chapter specifically. If you pick the chapter, I'll buy you the next book. You can't cheat. You're gonna cheat. I'm not gonna do that.
This all just like occurred and changed so quickly.
Yeah. Well, I just thought about how easy it would be for somebody to just like read and then be like, it's 37, right?
Man, we have to keep up with him till the end.
Oh, I don't know.
Is that your bet? I'll buy you the next book if you're right.
I think he lives. I don't think he dies. I think he lives the whole time.
There's plenty of other turds. We don't need him. Why would a dragon keep him alive?
Part of me wanted him to kill Violet and for us to be like, wait, what? And then for this to become a book about Jack Barlow. I think that'd be really funny.
All right, Peggy says chapter 16.
16, chapter 22.
Shelby
All right.
says 22.
Deal. If you guys get it right, I'll get y'all the next book. I'll get you the next book in this series, right? And I'll just send it to you. It'll be fine. All right, 16 and 22. I'm writing it down. So.
You little liar.
I'm not really writing. Thank you.
He said scribble, scribble, scribble with his little finger. There
That's
we
what you do
go.
on Zoom calls because nobody can tell. He's just like, yeah, whatever. I hope my boss is not watching.
All right, you guys.
This has been a blast. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you guys playing along. And the next reading is chapters 17,
14?
14, 14 to 32. 14 to
14 to 26. What are you doing?
I might have put the wrong chapter numbers on the thing.
14 through 26 is
14
our
through
next
26, that's
reading. So we'll meet you next week.
Yep.
I'm ready. This is so entertaining. I really love it.
Good.
I guess I like fantasy.
Well, I guess we're reading more. That's fantastic. All right.
Shelby says she's starting tonight.
Yep. Nicole's going to start right now.
Yeah, I'm about to.
Yeah. All right. See y'all next time.
All right, happy reading.
Bye.